to these various positions. Let us have government for the people, by the people, one nation under God with liberty and justice for all. And so that is the purpose and that is the thought. There is a reason that I like to have the candidates up front sitting all together, because of the simple fact that they're running for various offices. But I love this togetherness here at the church. Republicans, Democrats, I want us to really understand that Republicans and Democrats, Libertarians and independents, whatever position that you're running for, we're not running, should I say, against each other to put each other down. We're here to make sure that government works for the people. Amen? So I'm thankful for that. And with that thought in mind, we're going to continue to move forward. And what we're going to do is the production ministry, I'm going to ask you to assist me a little bit in getting some of the names of those that will be running. You remember how we did last year, and if you have the opportunity to put some on screen, we would appreciate it. And if you have something that they could go ahead and take back there, that would help out as well. So Charity, I'm going to ask you to come up, and if you would get anything that they have that they want to pass back there, and it may take a moment, but they'll try to get some of those names up, especially while you're speaking, so that people can remember your name. Now, Charity is coming up. Y'all make a good impression on her. She's in high school, and y'all, if you have anything to hand her, a card or what have you, that'll be real good. All right? That's my middle child, by the way. That's Charity. Let us have a word of prayer. Father, we thank you for allowing us to come here together on today. And we pray now, Lord, that we have assembled in your house. Lord, that you will help us to do things decent and in order. Let us continue to remember that we're all here for the business of America, to make this land what you would have it to be. So, Lord, we pray that you would bless each one that has come and those that may still be on their way. It is in Jesus' name that we do pray, and as God's children we said, amen. Now, let me go ahead, as Charity is collecting those, let me go ahead and also let you know that in just a moment we're going to ask our president of the Progressive Coalition, Reverend Greg Floyd, to come forth. And right after he comes forth, we're going to come back with the rest of the agenda for tonight.
Good evening, everyone. Oh, we can do better than that. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Yeah, that's what we like to do in church, amen. We like to get a call and response, amen. Again, we are delighted to have you to come and share with us in this 2018 political forum. We know that the more information we are armed with, the more we are able to make productive and selective choices to those persons that will be representing us in various aspects of government. And we do know that all of us should feel free to be able to ask our candidates anything because they're representing us. And so therefore, in that light, we want to say that to all of our candidates, welcome. We certainly hope and pray that things are well with you, and that as we get into this process, that you would answer as honest and as with much as integrity as you can. But again, let us know that all questions are fair, and then, you know, we're going to try to make sure that as our moderator gets started, that the call and response, or the answer questions and responses, are decent and in order, that we do not cross over the line in our questioning. The Progressive Coalition is a organization that has been established here in the Gaston County area to assist and to help those persons that need help and assistance from various aspects, from education to political to all aspects of the social spectrum. And so we're just out here trying to do what God would have us to do as an organization. One thing we're in the process of doing, and we hope and pray that you would help us to do, is we want to reach out to the victims of Hurricane Florence, those persons that have been affected, coming up in the next several months, we will be getting a truck together, a drive together, to go down to the East Coast to Lumberton, North Carolina, to reach out to those persons and to make sure that they know that Gaston County is not sitting by and twiddling our thumbs, but we care about those that have been affected and have lost family lives and their possessions. So those are some of the things that we're doing. Again, we're hosting this forum. We also want you to know that you can become a member of the Progressive Coalition. We meet on every first and third Tuesday at 10 a.m. at St. John Baptist Church in the Bradford Heights area. So please feel free to come and be a part of us and share with us. Share your vision, share your thoughts. There's no one person that knows everything, and we certainly welcome you to come and share with us your ideas and thoughts that would help Gaston County become a better place to live, worship, and work. Thank you again, and welcome to the 2018 Political Forum.
All right, don't worry about, I'll be out in front after a while. So I don't mind you having your backs to me. That's okay. I'm going to face you after a while. Our moderator for this evening is Jamal McCoy, but do we have any Huskies in the house? Okay, well, y'all can go ahead and leave. No, I'm just kidding. This is Ashbrook land here. I want you to know that. There you go. Yes, class of 81. I'm telling my age now, amen? And I'm not going to dye my hair black. Dye it black. I didn't dye it gray, so I'm going to let it go. But anyway, he is finishing up right as we speak football practice at Hunter Huss. So he'll be in a little bit later. So I'm going to go ahead and stand in for him for right now. So with that being said, the candidates will have 2 to 3 minutes to introduce themselves with their name, office sought, and their political, their platform that they're running for. And then after that process has been done, we will go ahead and have a Q&A, and we will quit promptly at 9. Now during the Q&A time, we're going to ask that anyone that has a question, please limit your question to be brief. Did I make mention to try to limit your question to be brief? To be brief. It's not a political statement that'll be coming from you. The political statements will be coming from them. Y'all with me so far? All right, and then you may have a follow-up question, but that's about as far as it'll go. Now, I've asked all the candidates that can to go ahead and stay when we stop at 9 to stay till 9:30. That's when you can bum rush. That's when you can come up to them and you can go ahead and ask them some more questions. Hey, get the phone numbers that they have available for their various offices and, exchange numbers, and you can set appointments and things of that nature. Then at 9:30, we're going to flick the lights because a lot of people got to go to work in the morning. A lot of people got to do different things. And we want to go ahead and allow them to have some space to do that. So at 9 to 9:30, you may just want to exchange cards so that you'll be able to get that information, okay? Now, we're thankful to have Adam with us on tonight, who is over the Board of Elections for Gaston County. So you will be able, and you correct me if I'm wrong, you'll be able to go right out front. And if you have not registered to vote, you can go right out front. You can register to vote, and you'll have that taken care of. If you have any questions about voter registration, if you have some problems in the past, he's bought his bodyguard, so make sure that you don't, approach him too tough, but he'll be all right. And we thank you for coming and taking the time to take care of that for us. Now, some are not running opposed to anyone, and we still want to give them some time because, once again, these folks are going to represent us. And there are some that are in office that we'll go ahead and give opportunity to make mention of some things that they may think of importance. Now, when I said 2 to 3 minutes, I do have a nice little stopwatch up here, and I will come over and make my presence known to let you know that you have about 30 seconds left. Is that all right? All right. And to those that are watching us on Facebook Live, we want you to know that we're thankful to have you. And we pray that you'll make yourself ready to come out and support at another time physically. But we want you to know that we recognize your presence here at Center Baptist Church and the Progressive Coalition. And we want you to know that you are indeed welcome. And for those that are in other countries that are watching, I won't razzle and dazzle you with my German and my Spanish, but I do want you to know that you are welcome, because we do have from time to time service members that are watching Facebook Live. With that being said, we will go ahead and we will begin. We're going to start at the table, and then those that may be running that couldn't make it to the table, we'll go ahead and go in the audience after that. With that being said, we're going to start right here.
Hello. Good evening. My name is David Wilson Brown, and I am running for U.S. Congress here in the 10th District. I decided to run because I live here in Gaston County with you, and I feel like we need better representation in Washington than what we're getting. I'm fighting for what I call true liberty. And it's not the thing that some folks on the other side might wrap themselves in the flag and pretend to stand for. I'm talking about true liberty where you don't have to choose between feeding your family and paying your rent or taking care of a loved one's medical needs. I'm talking about true liberty when all of us earn a paycheck that gives us not only enough to live on, but something to live for. I'm talking about living wages. True liberty comes when we all have the public educational opportunity to achieve our fullest potential no matter the circumstances of our birth. True liberty comes when we don't have to worry about our environment being destroyed by a greedy few who seek to maximize their own profits at the risk of our clean air and water. We talk about true liberty when we can have faith that when it comes time to retire, we don't have to worry that our Social Security and Medicare are going to be threatened by reductions in benefits or privatization. True liberty is something that I will go to Washington to fight for you and for me. My family is here in Gaston County, and we want to make sure that we have the opportunities that we deserve in America. This country was built on some fantastic ideals, and we need to live up to them. And those ideals need to reflect everyone, not just a chosen few. So I hope you'll give me an opportunity to talk to you more about the Better Road Forward that I present for you in Washington. I'm happy to talk to you at any time. As I said, I live here amongst you. Those friendly faces that I see in the audience know that I've been around for a long time running for this position. I'm committed to this, even though I'm still doing a 40-hour work week. I'm a working guy just like y'all. I have to provide for my family. This campaign does not do that. So give me a chance and send me to Washington. I've got a background in politics, went to school for it, and I interned on Capitol Hill. But I've spent time working jobs like you have. I've waited tables. I've made work to, make ends meet. I'm not disconnected and a career politician like some others. So thanks again. My name is David Wilson Brown. I hope you will give me a chance for Congress this year, and I think we're going to bring a great change for Washington. Thank you very much.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Daniel Caudell, and I'm running for County Commissioner for the Dallas Township. I wanted to thank you all for coming out tonight. As a veteran, I raised my right hand to defend that right to vote, and so seeing people coming out here to support that right makes me very happy. I decided that I was going to get into this as a first-time candidate and a full-time employee like David, because I just see so many opportunities that we have, and I want to try to capitalize on those. One of the great honors that I've had through this process is to sit on the Citizen Advisory Board for Community Development Block Grants, and it's given me an opportunity to see aspects of the community that I could not have seen before, and it has been an amazing process. I've gotten to meet so many people, and I see so many things that we can do that I think will benefit all of us. Opioid addiction is a massive problem in this community. The fact that Phoenix Counseling is our #1 provider for opioid addiction, and it's down to 2 days a week, is a problem for me, and I would like to do whatever I can to help. I know that me alone won't be a lot of change, but I think that if somebody comes to the table with questions, with ideas, then those questions are being asked. And that gives us an opportunity to do more, to try other things. And I think that it's time for that. It's one of those situations where, you can get upset at things that you see you want change and then not do anything, or you can jump in. And, what I lack in experience politically, I make up for with tenacity. I can promise you that. But it's, it really has been an honor. It really has to go around the community, to talk to people, to hear the needs, and to just get a better understanding of where I live. I've never been happier to be doing what I'm doing. It doesn't even feel like work. And, I do enough of that at work. But, it's November's coming, and I'm asking for you to put some faith in me. I will go to work for you. I will go to work for every single one of us. And I just look forward to the opportunity, and I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is, y'all hear me? I'm not used to speaking on this thing. My name is Jennifer Graham, and I'm running for Gaston County Commissioner from the River Bend Township. Unlike the two people that came before me, I am retired. I don't work. Been retired for 2 years. My experience comes from working with the Department of Health and Human Services. I worked there for 31 years, so I know the ins and outs of how county government should work. While I was employed there, I was a job social worker, a Medicaid case worker, and lastly, I was a daycare social worker. So I have lots of experience working with all different kinds of people. My goal for running is I want everyone in Gaston County to feel like they have a voice. Unfortunately, the people that we have on the commission board right now, they are out for a select few. I want to make everybody feel like they have a place at the table. I want to restore the integrity that we seem to have lost with our commissioners. And I've told people at the point that I have to give up that, then this is the wrong job for me. But right now, I think I have a lot to offer. One of the top things on my platform is senior care. I don't know if you guys know this, but in probably about 2 years, the senior population, those 60 and above, will outnumber those 18 and under, which means that we have got to start doing something for our seniors. We need to allow our current senior agencies to be more creative. We need to create partnerships with managed care organizations. We need to turn some of our unused property into some housing for our seniors. We need to create an advisory board with emphasis on the needs of the increased senior population. And we need to allow partnerships with private agencies. I have already been in contact with someone from Mecklenburg County who has agreed to help me bring some of the things that is working for them to work for us. Again, my name is Jennifer Graham, and I humbly request your support on November 6th. Well, October 17th, early voting starts. So I want to try to win this thing before November 6th. Thank you.
right before the next speaker, I do want you to use the mic because that helps our audience that is not here.
First of all, I'm just an old country boy. My name's Steve Hall. I was born and raised in Gaston County. I've been here for 65 years. I'm retired. I worked at Gaston College for 22 years. I'm running for Dallas Township School Board. In that 22 years, I've learned a lot about education. My concerns right now are school safety, teachers' pay, and making sure that the money gets to the classroom for the kids and the materials and all. And also, I seek more funding for education, and also, I think we should be very much physical responsible with the money that we do get from the commissioners in the state. And my job is to try to procure that money for the school board. I'm 65 years old. I have 3 children, 5 grandchildren, and most of those, 3 of them are in the county schools now. And I'm seeking, I'm not a good speaker, but I'm a good doer. I know planning. At the college, I was involved in planning, new construction. I'm a certified green professional by the National Builders Association. I'm a certified project manager by NC State University, so I know buildings very well. And I just ask for your vote that I can go with the, and I just want to go and help the children of this county. And I really care a lot about the kids, because in 2007, I created a nonprofit for kids in Gaston County, and these funds that I raise go to the kids in the needy areas so they can play sports. And that's what we raise. We cook hot dogs, anything we can to help those kids. And we even got an award from the school years ago for redoing Brookside's walking trail in their ball field. And again, my name's Steve Hall, and I ask for your vote on October 17th.
Good evening. I first want to say thanks for having this event. It's always good to get out and meet the public. My name is Tracy Fehlbeck. I'm running for Gaston County Commissioner for the Dallas Township. I am married. I have 2 children, Eliana Grace Fehlbeck and Levi Christian Fehlbeck. Ellie goes to North Gaston, and Levi is a student at WC Friday, so I heard some Ashbrook and Huz folks. I did go to Greer, went to school with Al Treese over here a little bit, but I graduated from North Gaston, so go Wildcats. Did I hear that? Oh, good. Just tell you a little bit about me and why I'm running. I'm a small business owner. I've lived here my entire life. My family grew up here. I work here. My business is here. My home is here. So without a doubt, what happens in this community matters to me. I take great pride. I don't think I've ever had a constituent, whether they agreed with me or not, I've never had a constituent say, you didn't return my call, you were not accessible. So whether I agree with someone or not, no matter what political affiliation you are, I'm accessible, I listen, and I will do my very best for the citizens of this county. I believe in servant leadership. You don't hear that a lot anymore. Some people are running because they're a Democrat. These people are running because they're a Republican. Or this one's running because they're mad at this person or that person. I'm not running for that. I don't have to have this job. I have a successful business. I can tell you my wife has asked me on many occasions, why do you do this? But I do think we need people in office without an agenda, but that genuinely want to serve. And I'll give you an example of one of my days. And it was probably the most humbling day I've ever had as a commissioner. We were called to meet with a company here in Gaston County they were looking at bringing jobs here. We're looking at millions of dollars of investment. I definitely had my suit and my bow tie on that day, doing everything that we could to impress these folks to help jobs come to Gaston County. By 5 o'clock that evening, it was raining, and I had a lady out in Dallas call me that she had a goat. She didn't know how to call animal control, and it went missing. So I go from helping bring jobs to Gaston County to helping a lady with a goat out in Dallas to corral it up and get it back in her house. Well, that's funny. And it really is. But in leadership and in servant leadership, at every single area that we can do, we're to serve others. And I believe that we should do unto others as we would have them do unto us. So when you think of Tracy Feldbeck and why I'm running to serve the people in this community and better this community. Thank you.
First, I'd like to thank Reverend Crawford and Center Baptist for hosting this, and Greg Floyd and the Gaston County Progressive Coalition for sponsoring the event. My name is Kathy Harrington. I'm currently serving my 4th term in the state Senate, and I'm running to win a 5th term. It's been my honor to represent the citizens of Gaston County. I have enjoyed the opportunity to serve. I spent most of my time the first few years working on transportation issues, and the last several years I've been working on the budget as a whole. I've certainly enjoyed the opportunity to serve. I never thought I'd run for office. I spent many years on the campaign side of things. Ultimately was asked to consider running and did, and I'm certainly enjoying my time, and I appreciate the opportunity to share my views tonight. Thank you.
Good evening, and first I also would like to thank Center Baptist and the Gaston County Progressive Coalition for offering to have this event here tonight, so thank you very much. My name is Robert Kellogg, and I am running for North Carolina House District 108. I grew up in a small town in upstate New York, and life was not easy for myself or my siblings when we were growing up. We grew up in extreme poverty, in a home where oftentimes we were wondering if we were going to have a place to live from one day to the next. I can remember my father cutting out styrofoam in the shape of my shoes and putting them in there, because without that, I would have been walking on just about nothing. And until the next check would come in and they could buy another pair of sneakers for me. I can remember holidays, and if it weren't for the charity of the Salvation Army or Catholic Charities or some other group, we probably would not have had a dinner, or we would not have had presents to give to one another. I share these experiences with you because I want to help make Gaston County better. I understand what it is like to have very little, and I understand what it's like to crawl yourself out of a cycle of poverty. I also know what it's like to eat a lot of pancakes, and you can see that from me tonight. And I know there's lots of people out there who, at different times in their life, eat things that they really don't want to eat in order to survive. So what this all comes down to is that I am running for the North Carolina House in District 108, because although I like and respect my opponent, I am running because we have a lot of work to do. And I believe the voters of Gaston County are looking for somebody who hears them and understands them and actually wants to hear them and actually wants to understand them. So as we discuss important issues like education and healthcare and other issues that you all want to debate and discuss, please remember that my name is Robert Kellogg, and I am running for the North Carolina House 108 because I hope to make this county a little bit better place to live. Thank you.
Good evening. I want to first say thank you to Reverend Crawford and Reverend Floyd for hosting this today, Dr. Crawford. Both of these gentlemen have been an inspiration to me personally and have helped to bring me to an understanding of the political landscape of Gaston County. So I want to say thank you very much to both of you. My name is Eltresa Price. I am currently running for the North Carolina Senate District 43. I was born and pretty much raised here in Gaston County. I've spent most of my adult life here. Have 3 children, Courtney, who's 25 and has the privilege of working in a union job. I have an 18-year-old, Kristen, who is a product of Gaston County Public Schools and had the opportunity through her hard work to be accepted to George Mason University. And I also have a 16-year-old who's a special needs young man who's a junior at Forest View High School right now. That is why I'm running for North Carolina Senate District 43. The three of my children have taught me down the road that there are things that we must do better in our county and in our state. I have been in politics for pretty much all of my life. I can remember when my mother gave rides to the polls when there was no early vote and when it was actually cold in November. I have, like my opponent, been on the campaign side. I've worked for the North Carolina Democratic Party. I've worked for Obama for America. I worked for Organizing for America. I even had the privilege of working for the Bernie Sanders campaign in New Hampshire and here in North Carolina. And as I have done those things, I have seen that we must be public servants. We must do the things that will make our communities better. I love Gaston County. Our schools are not where they should be. We have people who do not have meals on their table. We have people that have to work 2 jobs just to make ends meet. That is not a quality of life that I wish on anyone. We have to make legislative choices that bring better resources, economic development, infrastructure, and just public service back to the North Carolina General Assembly. And that's why I'm running. Again, Altresa Price for North Carolina Senate District 43.
Good evening. I'm John Torbett. I'm the current representative for North Carolina House District 108. And I wanted to talk to you about some things, and I really hadn't thought about everything we'd done, so I started writing them down just last night late. Just tell you a little bit about myself. I'm a husband, father, grandfather. I know the power of a good education and the miracles that occur in a classroom with excellent teachers. Let me tell you why. I was PTO president of every school my daughter went to with the exception of East Gaston High School. The only reason I wasn't there because they wanted me to call the football games back then, which was also fun. But I worked hard for each school. In Kaiser Elementary, you may not know this, but I worked to raise money for Kaiser Elementary, and Kaiser Elementary had the first computer classroom in an elementary school in Gaston County. And the principal then, who I dearly love, he just thought it couldn't be done. But we worked hard and got that done. That was an exceptional thing to do, and we all need to push our schools to do better. I'm also chairman of the Important School Safety Committee, where we're currently addressing funding for mental and behavioral health needs of the students and providing funding for security technology and student resource officers. Now, this wasn't just started. It was started in 2013 under the former governor after her heinous act, and we simply took it and started looking at it again recently, and we were able to come up with $35 million to put into schools to help the safety of our kids, and we will continue that effort as we are doing now. The environment. I was raised by the greatest generation parents. My father taught World War II. My mother pretty much grew up on a farm, went to work for the Tennessee Valley Authority, and worked there all her life. As she said, they forced her to retire when she was up in the 70s. So I know what it means. They taught me to be a conservationist then, my mother especially, and I know what it means to be a conservationist and to work with our blessed limited amounts of natural resources. And we should work to continually find a proper balance that supports thriving conservation practices and safely producing the needed energy and smart infrastructure growth for our future. And the reason I bring this up, let you know about my conservation, is that we have had an educational forest here in Gaston County for the last 15 years. Has anybody been there? No, you haven't, because they haven't been able to open it. So I was pleased, extremely pleased, to have secured the funds to open up the Mountain Island Educational Forest. You should be hearing about that in October. That will finally be open for the kids of our county and the surrounding counties, and that's going to be an actual gem and an asset to this county. In healthcare, I've worked feverishly in staffs of healthcare in North Carolina by examining and streamlining the Certificate of Need program, which makes it easier for providers to expand their services. Also was working to support the HOPE Act and find an additional $12 million to start as it addressed the opioid misuse and have it heavier penalties on doctors. Also, having grown up in a post-World War II family, I know the power of family, church, and community when working together, and I support those traditional values taught to me by my parents and my church. I'm John Torbett. Hope you will continue to support me. I work hard each and every day for you, and I will continue to do so. Thank you for being here today.
Give me both of them. Who said no? Oh. I'm Dot Cherry, and I'm an at-large member on the Gaston County Board of Education. By the grace of God, I do not have an opponent. So thank you, Lord. On that note, thank you, Reverend Floyd, and thank you, Crawford. I know, I about said Cunningham. I'm old, so y'all bear with me. But I do want to tell y'all the things that we have done as a board over the last 4 years. I heard Ms. Maxson say a few things, and some other people say some things about schools. Yes, we do have a lot to do, but we've accomplished a lot. One of the things that I'm very, very proud of is that we've worked extremely hard to be equitable at all of our schools. All of our schools are very important to me. And I'm sure you're going to hear the same thing from the two other board members that are with me. Doesn't matter what side of town you're on. For y'all that know me, I live right across the street from Hunter Huss. Went to school with Greg, went to school with Kathy, and probably several other people, Jennifer, several other people in this room. Some say that's a good thing, some say that's a bad thing, because my front door looks right in the front door of Hunter Huss. Very attached to the south, to the West End. That's where I was born and raised, and that's probably where I will die. The West End is just as important to me as where Mr. Torbett is in Stanley. Every school and every child is important to me. Every child deserves the best education, and for that reason, we've been able to put almost 1-to-1 Chromebooks in every school. That's our goal, so that every child has technology. We're one of the only school systems in the state that is almost 1-to-1. And we've got 32,000 children. So we're almost there. We have Wi-Fi in every single school. We offer choice in our county. Our parents have asked us, give us more options for our children. We have done that. We have STEAM academies. We have AIG academies. We have virtual academies. We have early college. So, and as the years go, we will add more and more choice to give you options and diversity to educate your children the way you want to educate your children. So we are working hard for you so that your children can be successful and move on like Altreasa's child did. So again, thank you, Lord, and I will pass it along. I'm Dot Cherry.
Thank you, Dot. It's great to be here. My name is Justin Davis. I'm on the school board. I have the pleasure of serving with these folks here. I'm out of the South Point Township, and I'm running for school board to retain my seat because I truly believe that great things are happening in our schools, and I want to continue that. Dot summarized what a lot of those things are, but let me tell you a little bit about myself. I live in Belmont. I'm married to my high school sweetheart, Reverend Shelton Davis, who's a Methodist minister and a pastoral counselor with Sanctuary Counseling Group. I'm an attorney in Gastonia at the law firm Mullen, Holland, and Cooper, and I've got two great kids who are in our public school system, in the 7th grade at Belmont Middle and the 4th grade at Belmont Central. We've got a lot of issues in our society and in our schools, and one of the things that I think is on everybody's mind is the enhancement of safety and security. And that's one of the things that's important to me. We're working hard to improve that. We now have a school resource officer in every school in Gaston County. It was just the high schools, but now it's every school has a full-time school resource officer. We need to continue that. We need to continue enhancements of safety and security by improving our facilities. And as most of you probably know, we passed a $250 million bond issue in this county, which is the biggest that's ever been passed. And what a phenomenal statement by the citizens of our county to say we value education. And we do, and I do.
We're going to be working with County Commission to spend that money over the next 7 to 10 years to improve our existing facilities and to build new facilities. We've got a lot of aging schools, and we need to be smart with our spending to improve what we have and replace what the oldest facilities are. It is important that we continue integrating 21st century technology into our classrooms. It's important that we work hard to have the resources to hire the highest quality educators. Unfortunately, public education is just like anything else. It's a competitive business, and we've got other school systems around us. And we need to work hard to have the resources, the monetary resources, to hire and retain the highest quality educators. And we need to continue our improvement on career and technical educational opportunities. I'll give you a quick fact. We are the 10th largest school district in the state. Wake County is the first largest school district in the state by a wide margin. And this past year, we had just about as many, if not as many, career and technical educational certifications for our students in Gaston County as did Wake County. That's a phenomenal thing to help lift people out of poverty. Not everybody's going to college, and they need opportunities to be prepared to get into the workforce. These are things that are important to me, and I hope you'll vote for me this year. Thank you.
I'm Lee Dedman. I am the representative from the Gastonia Township. First of all, thank you to the coalition for having us tonight. Thank the voters for coming out. I went because one of the best things about our Board of Education is the cohesiveness that we get along together. I want to thank Mr. Philback and the rest of the commissioners. One of the things that I ran on last time was that I wanted to make sure that we could communicate with each other to better our kids. And we have done that. That is probably the thing I'm proudest most, that we can call the county commissioners, that we can work together. They can help us help your children. As Dot said, I don't want to be so redundant, but I care about Cherville and I care about East Gaston, mainly because I was principal up there when I was principal of East Gaston. But I've had a 42-year education career. I was a principal for 32 years. I have 3 jobs. I have grandkids, a wife, and the school board. That's all I do. My golf game is in the tubes since I got on the school board. But I do appreciate serving. It is a lot of fun for me. The relationships we have, getting along with each other, it's like anything else. When you all work together and forget about who gets the credit for whatever you do, a lot of great things happen. And that's what's happening on our school board. We don't always agree, but we always come to the best decision for our children. So that's what I'm very proud of. But I would appreciate your vote very graciously. I would love to have your vote, every one of you. And I would like for you to tell 10 people that you know to go tell 10 more people and vote for me, because that's the only way to get elected. But thank you for being here tonight. I was going to talk about our bonds, but we've already said those. Congratulations to Gaston County for supporting the bonds and supporting the taxes. And I did play Carolina, if that helps. But if anybody doesn't like Carolina, I can tell you that I like another school if it helps in that. But thank you so much for being here. We appreciate it greatly. Reverend, thank you.
Hi, I'm Mike Lands. I'm a district court judge. I've been district court judge now for 12 years. I'm up for running for re-election, and like Dot, did not have opposition. Very thankful about that. So I will be your next district court judge for another 4 years, and I look forward to serving you. I went to Wake Forest University and graduated from there in '81. I graduated law school from the University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill in '84. Moved to Gastonia and became an assistant public defender. I represented people accused of crime who could not afford their own attorney for 6 years. Got a lot of experience in the courtroom. Ran to be your elected district attorney, won, and served 4 terms as district attorney, where I was responsible for prosecuting all the criminal cases in Gaston County. So I had to deal with victims of crime and police officers and the public. And I did that for, as I said, 16 years, excuse me. And then ran for district court judge. And have been there, as I said, now for 12 years, and the new term will be 16 years. District court judges do traffic cases. We do The general criminal cases, we don't do felonies, we do misdemeanors. We do child support, child custody. We do civil, landlord-tenant, that I do. Domestic violence cases. I mean, we do the foot on the road cases. We do what's generally going to affect you, that you might come up to court for. And I've done that in a fair manner. I've done that with integrity. I've tried to be fair to everybody who comes in. Probably declared tough up at the courthouse. Well, I like that, because I'm there to do what's right. And I'm going to do what's right. I'm going to do what I think is best, what's legal, and I'll represent you on the bench, and I'll be fair if you come into my courtroom, and I'll expect that the people in front of me will leave and say, maybe I better obey the law the next time, okay? You know, because that keeps everybody safe. But I appreciate it. Thank you very much. Again, look forward to serving you for another 4 years. Take care, and God bless you for being out here. I'm a member of Parkwood Baptist Church. I've been a Sunday school teacher for little ones. And apparently, I just remembered I had Tracy Philbeck's daughter when I was teaching first graders. I've graduated up to teaching adults now, okay? So they've got me with adults. But it's a fun opportunity to teach, and I look forward again to your vote and serving you. Thank you very much.
Can't hardly stand up. I've been sitting there so long. I appreciate y'all inviting me here tonight. Glad to be here. I'm Dana Bumgardner. I am in the North Carolina House District 109. I represent you in Raleigh, and that's what the seat I'm in is about. You. It's about making the state better for you. It's about getting the counties and the cities and the state and the school boards and the school board associations all on the same page and moving forward, because that's what we want to do. That's what our children deserve. That's what our voters and taxpayers demand. And so we worked hard on education. I didn't get to the General Assembly till 2012. Some of the others got there in 2010. And our state has made tremendous progress since that time. We were broke, in debt. We had pay freezes for teachers. That's all a thing of the past, and all that's happened since 2010. And I keep hearing this refrain, especially in Raleigh. I don't hear it around here much. It's always, we can do better. Well, of course you can do better. You can always do better. And we're trying. We're working on it. The school board we have here is working on it. Our commissioners are working on it. Gastonia is a great place to be. I'm happy to be here. It bothers me when people say, Gastonia has an image problem. We don't have an image problem. Maybe other people do. Some people might. We don't. Gaston County is a great place to be, and I'm happy to be here. And y'all are too, or you'd be somewhere else. So I have an open door to anybody that wants to talk to me about anything, anytime. The best part of the job is constituent services and interactions with voters and kids. Kids come to Raleigh, and a little girl asked me one time, she said, what's the best part of your job? I said, what I'm doing right now, being here talking to you. And I mean that. The first time I went to the General Assembly, I was in the 7th grade. That was 1967. That was a long time ago. The building was new then, and it made an impression on me, and I never would have dreamed that someday I'd be back there representing the town I live in. So I'm happy to be doing it. And I'll be glad to discuss anything with y'all anytime. I'm a guy trying to do the right thing every day, all the time. I read every bill. I vote on the basis of what puts more money in your pocket. What is the right thing to do for the majority of voters? What do people think about this issue? I read the bills and vote on that basis. Is it increase government's power over you, or does it make your life more yours to decide what to do with? And I'll stop right there, Reverend. Thank you.
We've exhausted that side? All right, good.
You want to be last, don't you? My name's Locke Bell. I'm the district attorney. I am in my 12th year. And I want to thank all of you for coming out. Now, as district attorney, you'll see in the paper, on television, the really bad crimes. I mean, that's what the TV and the newspaper want to do. They want to tell you about the bad. I am here to tell you that this is a fantastic county, that the crime rate is low, that we have a very good populace. And I laugh sometimes that my job is often, when somebody commits a crime, to decide whether they're bad or dumb. And it's amazing how many people get in trouble because they're dumb. And implemented a program that we help well over 1,000 people a year, I'm assuming. It's a deferred prosecution program, first offenders, nonviolent crimes. Okay, did you get the point when you got put in a patrol car? Did you get the point when you called your parents from jail? Now, we're going to let you do community service. You're going to admit what you did. You're going to pay for any damage. If you successfully complete the program, the case will be dismissed, and you will not have a criminal record. Now, this is not unique with me. It's done other places, but we do a tremendous amount of it here. I would say, and I don't have real numbers because I don't sit down and count them, we probably have over 80% success rate. If you screw up, you come in and you plead guilty. If you screw up, it shows that you don't care, you weren't paying attention. But 80% at least of the young people who make that mistake can straighten their lives out. They can then go get a job. They can then be a part of this community. They can go to school. Now, one of the other things that I'm very, very proud of is my staff. I have got the greatest group of people that work with me anywhere. And my job is to get out of their way and let them do their job. And people come up to me, and I love it when somebody comes up and says, well, so-and-so in your office was so nice. So-and-so really did a great job prosecuting that case. I'm very, very proud of my office, my staff. We work, I think, very closely with our judges here. And I want to thank you for the opportunity to live in Gaston County. And I'm running unopposed.
Good evening. My name is Craig Collins. I'm one of your district court judges. I appreciate Judge Land's already telling you a lot about what we do, so I can cut that out and you won't have to hear it a second time. I want to thank the pastors for having me. When Pierre Crawford calls and tells me I need to be somewhere, he knows that I'll show up every time. But I appreciate the opportunity to be one of your district court judges. And I want to just tell a quick story of something that people don't realize what we get to do. We hear a lot about what happens down on the criminal end. And that is a good percentage of our time handling first appearances and criminal misdemeanor charges and traffic offenses. And that's what we tend to get seen for. And that's what the media comes to see. What you don't see, and something that even before I became a judge I never fully appreciated, is when you're sitting in a courtroom down in domestic court with a family that's broken, a family that can't see a path forward and can't figure out how they're going to raise children and just survive as a family when the husband and wife no longer can survive in the marital unit. And to help them find a path forward is the most rewarding thing that I get in a week as a district court judge. To help people who feel hopeless when they walk in. They don't know how they're going to go forward. They don't know how they're even going to be able to do an exchange without fighting. And to help them figure out that there is and has to be a way forward. And help them craft that as often as I can without me having to do it on my own, with them come up with the decisions of how they're going to raise their children. And so that's incredibly rewarding. What you see as a judge is the stuff that Mr. Bell's office handles. That's the stuff the media comes in for. And that's the stuff you'll see on the news. And there is no attention, fortunately, to the stuff that we really do that I have found incredibly rewarding. And I find that most people, when they take a step back, they let their anger go. Most people really are good-hearted, who want to do the right thing, especially by their own children. And so I've found that to be the best aspect of this job. I am unopposed, but I am going to ask you to do a few things. And obviously, I want you to spend your energy tonight on these important decisions you have to make on these contested races. But I'm going to ask for your vote. Even though I'm unopposed, I still need votes. I'm going to ask for your prayers, and not just the generic prayers. The decisions that we make affect individuals greatly. And I'm going to ask that you pray for all of your judges and your court system that we make the right decisions, that we understand the best answer. We're human just like everybody else. We need some help. So please give us that. I'm always open for feedback. I can't talk about specific cases as a judge, but I'm always open for feedback. I want to make sure that I'm being fair. I want to make sure that I'm open-minded and that I'm being courteous and listening. And that's times where we need people to give us that feedback. But that said, I appreciate all of you coming out here. I appreciate the opportunity, and I thank all of you for all of your attention tonight that you're giving all these candidates. Thank you very much.
Let's give all these candidates a hand. All right. Well, candidates, you have seen just by that hand clap that just came, a lot of support right there if you don't see it nowhere else. Y'all supposed to laugh there. That was supposed to be. But I say, ha, ha, ha. Now, needless to say, we won't be able to get everyone tonight. My main goal was to make sure that all of the candidates were heard. It's important to me that you personally hear from all the candidates that want your vote, that want to go somewhere and represent you. So we've did that on tonight. There is water, of course, and I appreciate Senator Harrington being the servant that she is, trying to make sure that everybody gets some water. If you need some water, make sure that you raise your hand. All right. Now, what we're going to do is, once again, for those some that came in a little bit later, we're going to ask you to come to the mic, and we're going to ask that you would go ahead and ask one question. You can stay at the mic, and you may have an opportunity. Now, come right there. I don't want to forget you. Thank you for waving. You may have an opportunity to go ahead and ask one more question, but no more than that. And we won't get it all answered out today. At 9 o'clock, we will stop, and we will give you an opportunity to go ahead and mingle and talk to the candidates one-on-one until 9:30. So if you want to do that, you'll feel free to go ahead and do that. So you can, and each candidate, try to take no more. We gave you 3 minutes to go ahead, but because of the sake of time, try to get your answer down in about 2 minutes. And part of your answer may be, let me get your phone number, so you can go ahead and talk to them and get that information. So with that being said, there's a mic on that side, there's a mic on this side, and we can go ahead and probably be best if no more than about 2 people line up, because I don't want you standing but so long. We got one other candidate that couldn't be here. We want to go ahead and hear.
Thank you. My name is Kimberly Hallis, and I was asked to come and speak to you for Diana Merenfeld. Diana, this is her birthday week, and she, before she decided to run, told her family that she would take them to New Orleans, but she didn't take me with her. So that's where she is. I'm at least wearing the shirt so you can see. Diana is from New York. She's been down here about almost 3 years now. She's very tenacious. She's gotten rewards from Mayors Cuomo and Giuliani, accommodations, because she has been an advocate for so long. Since she was 25 years old, she's been fighting social justice issues. Diana, what's really important to her is education, especially special ed. She has 2 daughters. Both of them are adults now, but they're both autistic. One is more severe than the other. She started fighting with the school boards in New York, and she changed their entire system. She actually came to North Carolina to get the TEACH program and took it to New York to give to them so they could restructure how they were handling their special ed. And that's a really important issue to her, as well as green technology. And as much as coming in right now, she also thinks that there can be more green technology in Gaston County and by our county buildings, that we can implement some of that and save a lot of money that way. But those are things that are really important to her, and she apologizes and regrets that she couldn't be here. She had made this promise to her family, and she felt that was most important before she started getting back to work. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Are there any other candidates that are in the audience that are running for any position? Okay, silence prevails. We'll go ahead. The mic is open. And like I said, when you ask questions, please we got the political statements coming from them. Please, you just go ahead and, if you will, just ask your question and address it to all that are there or just one in particular. So the mic is open. Everybody jump in one time. Yes, that would help for them to know. Let me make sure it's on. There we go.
My question is for Mr. Baumgartner. I wanted to find out, sir, how you might respond to the issue of the mother who could get Medicaid for her 4-year-old son but wasn't seen to be eligible for herself and had to wait till she was sick enough to go to the emergency room. Maybe that would be a generic case. I imagine, I'm sure it was specific, but I imagine there have been a lot of folks who have been in that situation because of our refusal to expand Medicaid by the state. I just wondered what you might have to say about that.
Every person that has an issue with Medicaid, if they call my office, I refer them to the liaison with the Department of Health and Human Services in Raleigh, and we find out what the issue is and what the problem is. That sounds like something that happened a long time ago, and I don't know anything about that. There are too many cases for one person to know all about that. But as far as expanding Medicaid, now expanding Medicaid is a problem, and here's what's wrong with it. That was going to start out, the federal government was going to pay 90%. And then it's going to slide down until we ended up paying all of it. And where we're going to get $4 billion to spend on it. That was the first estimate. The first estimate that came out in 2013, I believe it was, or it could have been 15, $4 billion. And unlike the federal government, the state has to balance its budget every year. And so we weren't going to raise taxes $4 billion on the working people in the state. They don't have that kind of money. We couldn't do it, and $4 billion would just be the start, the down payment. And so for that reason, I couldn't support that. But as far as an individual case, there's no telling what the reason she was denied was. But I'd be willing to help her find out if it was somebody that is a constituent and would contact me about it.
My name is Tina Patterson, and since nobody want to ask questions, I'll ask a couple. My first question is for County Commissioner. I was listening to your story about the business meeting and the goat. I didn't really understand. Did you not go to the business meeting to take care of the goat, or it's just a variety of things that you do?
Yeah, excuse me for not being clear. My point was, being a county commissioner is truly service. So at one point during the day, I was in a meeting helping to bring jobs here, probably around 10 a.m., but by that evening, I'm out helping someone corral a goat. And the point of that is, serving as a county commissioner, one, is humbling because the job itself will humble you, because you deal with all facets of people's lives. And two, just to show you the dynamics of, at one moment, you may be working to bring jobs here, the next moment, you just may be helping your neighbor.
Okay, that's good.
Thank you.
Good answer. Okay, my next question is for those that are in Raleigh now. Harrington, Baumgartner, and also those that are on the school board, with the exception of Dot Cherry, because I questioned her about 30 minutes before we got started. My question is to do with education. I'm a Texas transplant. I've been here 3 years. Me and my husband were empty nesters. But since we've been here, we do have a high school student living in our home. She was homeless, so she's living in our home now. And when I was searching for schools to put her in here in Gastonia, all the schools have very low ratings. And, I mean, I hear you're concerned with safety. I'm concerned with safety. But all the schools have very low ratings. What are we doing to raise the ratings of the school? And any of you can answer that question. I looked at high schools. I pulled it up on this website that has where you can go and buy a house and it tells you the schools that are in that district.
Great schools is simply an opinion. It's not factual at all. So if I had a bad experience, say at Hunter Huss, which I have never had a bad experience at Hunter Huss, that's my high school, people will go and put in an opinion. Now, there's other data out there that shows test scores and so forth and so on, but depending on what site you went, and I'm not making excuses, so please don't take it that way, but depending on what site you went on, it might be an opinion or it might be factual.
So there are excellent schools here. Is that what you're telling me?
Oh.
Yes, ma'am.
I'll fight for all of the schools in Gaston County.
We've really increased our school marks from the state in the last 5 years immensely. Now, the only thing that went down a little bit this year was our graduation rate, but it was at an all-time high. And the reason it went down is because the state changed the way they determine the cohort. And the cohort is how many kids come in the 9th grade and how many kids graduate in the 12th grade. Okay. But as far as our letter grade for our schools, if you'll go to departmentofpublicinstruction.org, you can type in any school's name and it will give you all the information at school. You can call me and I'll be glad to sit down with you at the county office and flip open the book and let you look at it. We have excellent high schools. And as Ms. Cherry said, you know, people, not everybody's going to be satisfied, but I can assure you that we have great teachers and great schools. Last year we had $55 million that our kids received for scholarships. I mean, that's an enormous amount of money. Ashbrook had a 9 or 10 million just by itself. Highland had, go Wave. Highland, Huss, all of us. We have a really great school system. We'd love for you to mentor. If you'll call our county office and ask how you can mentor or drive a bus, or if you have a certificate, we still need teachers. We have 4 left that we have substitutes for right now out of 1,300.
I have a nonprofit that I work with students over at T. Jefferson.
Oh, that's super. Yeah. Thank you for doing that.
One of the other things I'd like to mention, if I could, folks, is the work we've been doing in school choice. Right now, we have the Hawks Nest STEAM Academy, the Pleasant Ridge AIG Academy. We have Highland Tech, of course, which Lee was the principal at. We have the Gaston Early College program, as well as our virtual academy. And we just rolled out the Stanley Middle School STEAM Academy. In the coming years, you're going to see additional school choice options. Central Office is working hard on those options with various schools throughout the county, and they'll be bringing them to us. But we're going to continue increasing our school choice opportunities. That way the citizens of Gaston County have a choice of how they want their kids educated and the things they want them to learn and where they want them to go.
I have a two-part question, and this is for the folk in Raleigh. House Bill 514. Are y'all familiar with that House bill? It's the charter school. It's a charter school bill where a group of folk out of Charlotte is trying to get specialized funding for charter schools. And so I think if we're looking at the charter schools that are coming on, is that not a direct conflict with monies that go out to our Gaston County schools? And how do y'all feel about that as far as the division of monies going out from charter schools that should be going out to public schools?
Is it on? So the monies that go to the students at the public schools, when that student leaves that school, not 100% of the money follows that student to a charter school. About 70% does on average. It's also important to remember that, when that student's not in that public school or whatever school they're not in, then they don't need the resources for that student.
Mr. Floyd, can I answer your question for you? You're talking about the bill where the 4 towns in Charlotte, right? I don't think that, Charlotte is, I'll be honest with you, Charlotte is a huge school district. It is second or third in the state. It has 157,000 students. We have 34. We, as with our bond money, and Tracy knows this and our other board members here, we made sure that Cherryville and South Point, of course they're going to get a new school, but with Cherryville and Bessemer and East Gaston, we're going to spread that bond money around to make sure we take care of those schools. The people in Charlotte are very dissatisfied with their school system, and to be honest with you, they're just having a spitting contest between the county commissioners and we don't do that here anymore. So hopefully we're going to avoid that. But okay. Does that answer your question? That's
it does. It does.
That's what 514 is.
Right. And then the second part of the question is, when you lose those kids or that money is taken away from the schools, what happened to the teachers' pay? Is that not affected?
Nothing happens to teachers' pay, but right now we get from the state about $5,600 for each child, and we get a bill each month from our charter school, and it says we have 17 of your students, so we have to send part of that money to those charter schools. It used to be 4 years ago, if the charter school said they had 300, we had to pay for all 300 of them for the whole year and never got the money back. Now we pay monthly, which is much fairer.
Okay. What happens if that student comes back to the public school? Does the money?
Hey, we take anybody that walks in the door. That's one thing, the difference between us and everybody else. We take disabled children, anybody that can get in our school system. We take them, and we have a program for all of them.
Does the money come back? The 70? It does. I see some.
We only go for one month at a time. They get the money.
Money follows the student. Okay, thank you.
Can I add something to that as a county commissioner?
Right before this young lady comes up, you were standing there. You were getting ready to have a question. So if you'll go ahead and let her have hers, and then you'll be next.
Can I add something before?
Sure.
I don't think you can skip the fact that when we did this bond money, we really made sure that every single area in Gaston County was touched. I think in the past, I think the school board, there was some conflict in the past. We wanted to make sure, and this was something that was important to me, I wanted to make sure every single area in Gaston County was touched with these bonds. A lot of times, now I'm not on the school board, but a lot of times as a county commissioner, I'll have folks come up and say, hey, why aren't you spending money in my district? Well, they got a nice new Stuart Kramer school down here, and you come look at North Gaston and you can't even play on the tennis courts because it's all grass and everything else. So when we did this bond, we specifically made sure that every single township, every single school, every single area benefited. So that's the one good thing. I don't know if we put enough attention to, but this bond is not going to those that have the most. This bond is going to touch every single part of this community. And I thank the school board for that, and that's something that we worked hard to make sure. And I think that's one of the reasons why it passed.
But I think sometimes we lack the knowledge.
Yep.
We maybe get that out and be more focused.
Thank you.
Hi, guys. This is a 6-part question. Just kidding. Okay, so my name's Adina Rutenberg. I have a small business, a restaurant in downtown Gastonia. My question is for excluding, I guess judges and school board don't need to answer this. Okay, let's say that I had a lot of money and I gave you $1 million. What would you spend it on in Gastonia and why?
$1 million, that would be absolutely awesome. My laundry list is probably about $30 million, but we'll start with your one. The first thing I would do is finish the one-to-one with the Chromebooks. As a parent with a student in the Gaston County school system, I see how that benefits the children. But I would also increase the diversity in curriculum by having additional assistant teachers, as well as not necessarily focusing on having resource officers, but having counselors in our schools. Again, having a child with special needs, they serve a function that should go beyond just helping to make sure that the testing papers are right. I would also use it to increase the infrastructure as far as our roads are concerned in Gaston County. I live in the south part of Gastonia. I live almost in Lake Wylie, so there are things that are being built, and when they build them, they fix the roads. But as I travel around Gaston County, when I go on the west side, there are potholes, there are no sidewalks, and those things need to be corrected. So I think that would probably take up about all of that.
I love the question. If you'd asked me yesterday, I'd probably have a different answer. I'm going to tell you today the answer for today. And I say that because I was thrilled to be able to go to the opening of a Boys and Girls Club today in Dallas, North Carolina. Yes, Venture Church. I was there when the kids got off the bus for the full time to come to their after-school activity. And if you asked me today about the $1 million, I'd say I'd give it to make sure every kid in our county, as far as that money would go, could have that opportunity, especially from broken homes or single-family homes or single-parent homes, that the look on their faces. I actually told the pastor, I said, I can't keep coming here because every time I come here, you make me cry, because it was that kind of experience today to see the kids it was absolute blissful joy on the faces of these children. And then to go in there and see them light up when they walk in and see all the things that they would have activities with, play with, until they have to go home, and who knows what they go through at home. So today the question would have been, impact as many of those kids just like that I possibly could today. Thank you for the question.
I'd like to take a go at this. I think if I had $1 million, that money would go to exactly what the priorities should be right now for the state of North Carolina and their legislature. Two things, education and health care. If Gaston County does not start putting health care and education as a top priority, we can kiss anything goodbye that's going to ever happen to us. It's going to be good. Education. Gaston County is 37th in the nation in teacher pay. Gaston County is also 39th in the nation for per pupil spending. Something is wrong when our teachers leave and go to South Carolina to teach. Something is wrong when our schools are crumbling to the ground. Something is wrong when English teachers have to photocopy pages of novels in order to teach from their English curriculum. Something is wrong when trailers are lined up in front and behind our schools, and Raleigh politicians pat themselves on the back for a job well done. Something is wrong with our healthcare system, when mothers have to decide if their child gets insulin that month or if they get the blood pressure medicine they need. Something is wrong in healthcare, when Medicaid expansion is ignored and people are falling through the cracks and having to live day by day not knowing how they're going to survive. So if I had $1 million, folks, it would go to the two priorities that North Carolina needs to focus on, and that comes right down to North Carolina and Gastonia and Gaston County. That is healthcare and that is education.
If I had $1 million, the first thing I would look at is, number one, $1 million won't go far on one idea. What I would first look at is, how could I put this money with groups that would give me the biggest bang for my buck? And there's two in Gaston County. And I have sat on the board. I sat on the Boys and Girls Club board for Dallas, and I also was a founding member of Least of These are the Carolinas, which helps foster children, and the Dream Center in Gaston County. I had fortunate enough to help start that as well. What I have found out, it sounds good, we'll give you $1 million and we'll do this. Well, $1 million is not going to build a road. You can't even, it won't go far at all. But if you take those funds and you work with groups that can have a bigger impact than government, I think you can get something done. Least of these, the Carolinas. When they came before the commission, this is a nonprofit group that works to help children in our community that go through our foster system. Gaston County, through the Family Advisory Board, gave them $8,000 to help them get started. Today, they have about $200-something thousand. They're completely debt-free, and they serve close to 200-something of our children in Gaston County that your tax dollars do not have to do anymore. So that's actually a savings, a good investment, a good return on your dollars. The Dream Center, there are children in our community, just because of sometimes the color of their skin, just because of maybe their socioeconomic background, maybe who their mom and dad was, a whole host of issues that are probably never going to have a chance. But the Dream Center in Gaston County gives those individuals an opportunity to get out of a nightmare and actually live a dream and get a good education, learn how to read, learn how to write, learn how to get a job. Even you would be surprised the people that come that are 18 and 19 and they don't even know that, okay, you have to wear a suit or a nice shirt to a job interview. And that's what the Dream Center does. So when I would look at investing $1 million, I would look at public-private partnerships, mainly with the faith community. I'm a strong believer in government, but government cannot solve all of our issues. And a lot of issues, I believe, can only be solved by the church. So I think working with the church, the Dream Center, the Boys and Girls Club, and things of that nature, it would be a good source of monies, and I think it would get the most bang for a buck.
I sort of agree with one of my colleagues who said it could be different every day. I mean, $1 million, it wouldn't go as far as you would hope it would, but I think if I have to choose one thing for Gaston County, I think we would use it to set up an opioid treatment center, opioid crisis treatment center. That would go a long way for one item.
If I had an extra million, a one-time gift, I would direct it toward something special, because I think the schools and the health, we need to have a plan that is sustained year after year for that, and not depend on one-time gifts. But I love what Robert said about the schools and the health. I would put it toward special music education in the schools and art education in the schools, because I think in those classes, students really can express themselves and in ways that they can't do in all the other classes. We're really attending to the basics in the schools, but having a one special event in a student's life at a special time in their life, and do this countywide as much as possible. Bring in the symphony or take them to Charlotte to go to the symphony. Do something really special, and that could be something they would never forget the rest of their lives. When my dad had dementia, one of the things that he still retained at the very end of his life, and still remembered the name of his music teacher from 8th grade, and her teaching them to sing harmonies, and that was so special. Everything else was fading away, but those are lifelong health issues. If somebody can relate to music or art and express themselves that way, I think in the long run we could alleviate some of the mental health issues that we have, because there would be a well-rounded a way for people to express themselves.
What I would do is what I stated earlier. Senior care is very, very important to me. No one should have to choose between taking care of a parent or a relative. They shouldn't have to choose a job over that. So any monies that I would get extra, I would use it for something for senior care, whether it be senior daycares. Like I said earlier, that the senior population is rising. We need more adult daycare centers. We have lots of daycare centers for children. We can use some centers for adults as well. So that's what I would do with it.
Okay, so the first thing I would do is I would take $45,000 2 times, and I would hire 2 individuals whose primary function was to assess and apply for grants for the county. So that way, we're bringing money in from the federal, from the state level that's not affecting the taxpayer. With any success, year 2, they'd be paid for. I would take the other $10,000 and I would put it towards spreading information around the county so that they know what they're voting on. So as amazing as it is that we passed those school bonds, and I too am very happy that it happened with a 14% voter turnout rate. That's dangerous. And in addition, the sales tax only had 52% of that 14%. So that's dangerously close. And I think that that happened because people really didn't know what they were voting on. It was stuffed into a primary ballot, which typically get lower voter turnout. And you know, we almost missed that one. And I think that that $10,000 would go very well towards voter education, so that we know what we're voting on, we know why we're voting on it, and we know how it's going to impact us.
And then we have one over here after one over there.
I just
You are
wanted-
next. Yes. Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you. For the million? Oh, you want? One of y'all? Okay. We don't want to overlook anyone.
Okay. Okay, I'm going to go ahead then, and I wanted to ask Mr. Kellogg and Ms. Maxson if they could each respond to how expansion of Medicaid could be afforded by this state. Maybe you could go first, Robert.
Thank you. The expansion of Medicaid has been something that the state has grappled with for a couple years. And the factual basis or the argument that it's not affordable is just wrong. The federal government will cover 90%. The other 10% would be covered by local healthcare providers. I have to say that we shouldn't be saying it's unaffordable. I think we have to say to ourselves, we cannot afford to do it. When you've got families that are literally using the emergency room as their doctor, and you've got people that are waiting until they're having a stroke or a heart attack to get the medication and to get the care that they need, how can we say that we don't have the money to afford it? I think if there's a will, there's a way. I think North Carolina missed the boat, and instead of leading on this issue, they are far behind. And when I'm elected to go to Raleigh, this will be one of my top priorities.
Yes, my understanding is that the federal government would cover 90% of the cost, and that public hospitals in North Carolina agreed to step up with the other 10%. And the reason is because it would alleviate the emergency room usage. So many families have gotten into just the mode of depending on the emergency room rather than having a primary health care provider. So when they have a primary health care provider, they won't be depending on the emergency room for their routine care. And also preventive care is not something you get in the emergency room. You don't go to the emergency room for a mammogram or other cancer screening unless you're already just about dying from that and you present at the emergency room. So the hospitals are saving money by that expansion.
She's yielding to you. Yes, sir. She said you was up first, so you make it.
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Ray Rayner. I'm a Gaston County resident. I have a question to the current Representative Dana Baumgartner and Senator Alton Harrington. excuse me. My question is, the voters, myself included, will be faced with voting for or against 6 amendments that will be on the ballot. My question is to the representative in Raleigh now, and also I would like for the candidates that's running for those positions to answer this question as well. These amendments that is being proposed, we already have either general statutes or they are already in the Constitution. My question is, why do you feel that we need to have these amendments, which is already in our Constitution and in our North Carolina statute? So if you could answer that question for me, thank you.
Thank you for the question. It's good to see you. Well, I have some bullet points on each amendment that I think kind of quickly explains it. They're not currently in our Constitution, or we wouldn't have them on the ballot. If I may, just have a minute to sort of run through the bullet points on them, or?
Well, I already know what the bullet points are. Excuse me. I already know what the bullet points are. My question is, why do you feel we already have all those 6 amendments are already in our Constitution and they're already in our North Carolina statute. My question is, why do you feel that you need to add some additional points that's already sufficiently covered in our Constitution and our North Carolina statute?
They are not currently in our Constitution, or we wouldn't be able to have them on the ballot. I support them because voter ID polling shows that 70% of the public wants that. Another example is victims' rights expansion, Marsy's Law. I think that victims should have knowledge when someone that perpetrated a crime against them is out on bail. Victims should have a right to know those things. Those are a couple right there that aren't in our Constitution right now. Our current income tax cap is 10%. One of the amendments would lower it to 7%, which is a pretty good thing. You don't want the General Assembly going, off the rails with 10%. Our tax is now 5.35 and going to 5.25. So if we put it to 7, we would still have room. It doesn't have to be up to 10.
I would like to also speak to that. I oppose all 6 of the amendments. I'll just put that out there right now. I look at every one of those amendments as trying to fix a problem that does not exist. When you speak about having ID to cast your vote, to me that sounds like a voter's tax. There are a lot of people who do not have state IDs, or they're expired, or whatever the particular instance is that they don't have a voter ID. That should not keep them from voting. The percentage of people to whom which illegally vote is so minute. Why would we put a hurdle in front of our elderly, in front of our young, in front of people who are not economically able to either get to or to renew? Because if anyone's tried to renew their driver's license or their ID, it is not inexpensive for if you're having to work 2 jobs just to pay your rent. As far as the bill, as far as the amendment protecting people to know when someone who has perpetrated a crime against them, from my understanding right now, it doesn't give options. What it says is that if the person who perpetrated something against me, I have the right to get restitution. My understanding is the way the bill is written, it would be determined by the court or by the judge. I may be wrong. But that's what my interpretation is, and I don't think that it should be an option. I think that it should be there regardless. And to me, overall, when I look at the amendments, especially with the taxation portion, it is an attempt to put control so that in the future, if the majority is changed and there are different priorities, that they are handicapped from doing whatever is needed to be done. No one wants to increase taxes, but to put a amendment in our Constitution that says it can never be that, I don't think is wise. Our Constitution, it speaks about education, but I don't see that we are doing right by what our Constitution says in that either.
Thank you for the question, Ray. And I voted for to put the amendments on the ballot, and I'm glad I did. I'll do it again. I think they need to be on there. They're in statute now, which means that if the courts decide, we have judges that want to be legislators now, and everything we do, they look at it and examine it and try and figure out some way to overturn it or set it aside. It's happened a bunch of times to us already. That's why judge races are important. Anything that's in statute can be overturned by the court. The state Supreme Court can just say, we don't like that, get rid of that. So if you put it in a constitutional amendment, they can't do that. That's why we did this. There were a couple of those, like the hunting, fishing thing. I'm all for hunting and fishing, been doing that all my life. I don't know why we had to have a constitutional amendment on that, but okay, I was okay with putting it on there, but the others I strongly support. And I hope they all pass.
Can I add one more? I'm going to try to convince you for tonight so we're to support at least one of them. One of them is relative to Marcy's Law. And I just don't understand how people can't support this one. Let me tell you what it does in real life terms. My daughter or my wife or your daughter or your wife could be brutally harmed in some heinous act by a person, just a very bad person. That person be sent away for a period of years. Today, that person could be let out on however the court deems, and my wife or daughter could be in the grocery store and that person could come up to them and they wouldn't have any idea that they were even out of prison. None idea. Can you imagine that? What Marcy's Law does, it officially tells the government you must notify the victims of that person's whereabouts. If they are coming out of prison or if they are coming out of jail, you have to notify the person that they harmed so they can be alerted as to that person's possible or probable presence. That's what Marcy's Law does, and I trust that everyone in this room can support at least that one.
I'm going to break a little bit with some of my Democrats here, and there is one that I will probably vote for, and that is Marcy's Law. But for me, the question here is not should we vote for these, shouldn't we vote for these. My question is, why are these amendments the priority of our legislators? Why did they spend all this time coming up with 6 amendments when it could have been spent working on health care and it could have been spent working on education? North Carolina has the 4th highest cost for health care in the United States. 4th highest cost. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to see something on there about health care instead of these other amendments.
My name is Rosalind Crawford. My question is for the school board. I've heard many of the school board members acknowledge the fact that you've gotten Chromebooks, and that's a wonderful thing. But my question is, where are the textbooks? My daughter comes home with a worksheet and is expected to remember everything that she's gone over in the 4th grade. And is expected to remember everything that they've covered that day. And so when I sit down to look over her work or help her or question her as to what was covered, She can't tell me anything because she has a worksheet. And then as parents, we get a note torn out of a book as to what they're covering. My husband and I attend every parent-teacher conference, and this has been the cry. Where are the textbooks? And what we've been told is we don't have enough to send home with the children. Well, then send me one. I make sure that I get a textbook. The textbooks are usually from the year before, so I don't know how relevant that information is. Don't get me wrong, I'm not disputing Chromebooks, that's a wonderful thing, but I feel like sometimes we're leaning more toward technology teaching our children than the teachers actually teaching our children. And I'm for teacher pay increases, I'm for that. But where are the textbooks? All children don't learn from computers. Some children have a hard time sitting there all day looking at a computer. And it's a beautiful thing, but you don't send the Chromebooks home with the children. So what about the kids that don't have access to technology? So that's a couple of questions I hit y'all with all at one time. So answer the textbook question.
They change a textbook every 5 years, and I don't mean it's a racket, but and I'm like you, I don't know how a math book changes every 5 years other than to put a different word problem in. But what happens is the state does that. So they've cut back, and I'm not blaming our legislatures, it's just one of the things that happened. They've cut back on the money that we get for textbooks. Now, on the flip side, if your child in elementary school, we've got new programs in our elementary school that every elementary school has a reading program inside there with a library right now that we're using. So we're trying to build that book thing back up.
Okay, and let me stop you there because I even had a teacher in a parent-teacher conference tell me, call your senator. We called Kathy. She said that there was money allotted for textbooks. It was on her way to
sit down with Miss Harrington
and was on her way to come to that school to discuss that with the teacher. However, the teacher called my husband the next morning and said, "Don't do that. Don't do that. We don't want to cause any trouble." No, I don't. I want to know what the textbooks are.
But you know, I'm like you. I think we need more textbooks than we have in school. When I was a high school principal, I was always disappointed that we didn't have enough textbook money. I used to have a lot of textbook money 15 or 20 years ago, and every year it's went down. And I'd be glad to sit with Ms. Harrington or anybody else and look at the amount of money we receive from Raleigh and for our textbooks thing. I mean, I'm all 100% that we need to have more textbooks.
Yeah, and that's my concern because the children have no way to review. They have no way to
Ms.
study.
Harrington or anybody in there now or Mr. Torbett, but I'm just saying.
Can I speak to that issue? As I stood before you, I stated that I currently have a student that's at Forest View who is a special needs student. So I feel your pain. Every year I have a parent-teacher conference and I say, I know you don't give books to every student, but my student needs to have a book to come home. My daughter who just graduated, she took some of the early college classes. They had textbooks. She took AP classes. They had textbooks as well. And so it is a problem that every student does not have textbooks for those simple subjects. In the second grade, I remember bringing home a spelling book so that I could learn how to spell my words. My son is autistic and a type 1 diabetic. His mind and his body don't always coordinate, and keeping up with a little piece of paper is unacceptable. So I don't know why the funding has gone down for books, but when I'm elected, that is on my top priority because we need to have books in our schools for our students.
My name is Sam Jameson, Gaston County resident. Mr. Baumgartner stated that there is no image problems in Gaston County, and I would just like to hear from some of the other state representatives and county commission if you agree completely with that statement. If there are some image problems, what you see as image problems in Gaston County and what you have in mind to fix that.
Right before you take that answer, right before you give that answer, Unfortunately, we're going to have to go ahead and let that be the last one. He was one standing. But don't forget, from 9 to 9:30, you'll be able to go ahead and interact with those that were able to go ahead and stay and be here with us. So please take advantage of that 9 to 9:30 time frame. And right after these answers come forth very briefly, we're going to ask Mr. Adam Reagan to come forth, and we're going to ask him to go ahead and give just a few minutes on any information he wants to put out about the election board process, or the voting process, excuse me. And don't forget, you'll be able to go out front and you can register to vote today if you're eligible, and they will let you know about that because it's coming from the Board of Elections. Also, we want to definitely recognize our mayor in the House. God bless you, sir, for coming on in. Honorable Walker Reed. So thank you, sir, for coming on in. And Adam, if you would make your way up front, we would appreciate it. City Council. Hey, Jennifer Step. There she is. God bless you. Good to see you in the house. He has a question, but if you'd make your way on around so that you'll be able to give the information. So thank you so much. If you need to restate the question, if anybody needs that, feel free, but if not, go ahead and give your answer.
I don't think that Gaston County has an image problem. I think there's a perception problem. In Gaston County, there are a lot of improvements that are being done to communities individually. Unfortunately, what my daughter told me, if it bleeds, it leads, as far as the news is concerned. People want to hear about the horror and the bad things. They don't speak about the good things that are going on in Gaston County. We have economic development that is going on the Eastern Corridor from Randlow to the Mecklenburg County line. You don't see a whole lot of news coverage on that. We have businesses that are coming into the western part of the county in the Bessemer City, Cherryville area, developments that had been abandoned that are now being revitalized. You don't hear people speaking about that. So I don't think that we have an image problem, we have a perception problem. And what that means is that people have the perception that because we are a rural county on the outskirts of Mecklenburg County, that we don't have anything going on. But again, I have lived in Gaston County for most of my adult life, and I couldn't imagine living anywhere else.
I agree with her about the perception. Thanks for the question. But one thing I know, there's people that don't want us to succeed over here. They just don't want us to, okay? Probably from the across the river, we'll say. But as long as we stick together and stay strong and focus on the things we need to focus on like we are, and keep building this community up, working collectively to do that instead of divisively to tear down, I think you'll see us grow exponentially, and I think it's here now and it's coming. And I've told everybody I'll talk to that if you're going to grow, if you're in a business, if you're wherever, now is the time. Let's push this thing and get Gaston County to be the king county that we know of North Carolina.
John, I have to agree that when we look at Gaston County and we debate whether or not there's an image problem, it's all relative to the individual that you're asking. But I also think that we have to be a bit realistic here. We live in a great county, otherwise we would not be here. We have great schools, we have wonderful teachers, we have great amenities, we have a lot of good things happening here. But we also have to look the ugly truth in the eye sometimes and say there's some issues, there's some challenges. And to continually say that we don't have any problems, or that there's maybe not an image problem, or people from the outside don't look at us and see some of the things that we don't really want to look at or address, is not accurate. Again, 37th in the nation in teacher pay, 39th in the nation for per pupil spending, 4th in the nation for healthcare costs, 4th in Gaston County is 4th in the state for opioid addiction deaths. We have some challenges here. And people from the outside looking in, that's what they see. So although I agree that this is a wonderful place to live, a wonderful place to have a business, a great place to bring your family here and to grow your roots and be a part of the community, if we don't start making healthcare and education the priorities they need to be, the image is only going to get worse. And no matter how many times we want to tell people it's not what they see, that's what they're going to see. Send me to Raleigh and we'll begin to work on these issues pronto.
We have time for one more comment, and then we're going to have to go ahead and bring Adam Reagan on up. Sorry for that, but we want to try to stay as close to the time as we can.
I will definitely keep it brief. The question is, do we have an image problem? Let me address this first. Every town, every city has issues. That is what it is, and I believe we can work through those. The question is, do we have an image problem? I actually think we do, but I think it lies with us, not necessarily what other people say about us. I'll give you an example. I grew up on a mill hill in Gaston County on Pear Street. I don't know if anybody knows where that's at, but we're talking 74. I was born 74, so we're talking early 80s. It was rough. We grew up poor, very poor. Actually every friend I grew up with is in prison today or dead. Every single friend. But my mom really I never knew I was poor. She never told us we were poor. And just the way my mom and my dad talked to me, I never got wrapped up in the victim mentality, or, well, I live over here in this Mill Hill and these folks live over here. Here's what I would say. I would not allow any other county or city dictate to us who we're going to be. And I think we have a culture in Gaston County that time and time again has been beat down, told you this, told you that, and we're Mill Village, and you know, we're just going to be a bedroom community outside of Charlotte. And I wasn't raised like that. Again, I was poor, but I was eating bologna and Spam, but I thought I was eating steak. And that's the kind of environment that I grew up in, but I think that's the kind of environment we need as a community.
And I wasn't raised like that.
I'm not going to allow someone else to dictate
I was
to me
poor, but
what I think of myself.
I was eating bologna.
No one gets that right but God and myself. So I think what we need to do is continue to encourage our community to stand up, talk about the things that we need to fix, but talk about all the good things that we have in this community as well. So again, I think what we need to do is continue to encourage our community to stand up, talk about the things that we need to fix, but talk about all the good things that we have in this community as well. So again, I think what we need to do is continue to encourage our community to stand up, talk about the things that we need to fix, but talk about all the good things that we have in this community as well. So again, I think what we need to do is continue to encourage our community. We can do that. There's no reason we cannot do that if we'll work together and not allow other people to define who we are. Thank you.
So I think what we need to do is continue to encourage our community.
We can do that.
Come on and give them all a hand for great job.
If we'll work together and not allow other people to define who we are. Thank you.
I do think it's so important.
So I think what we need to do is continue to encourage our community.
We can do that.
Come on and give them all a hand for great job.
Work together and not allow other people to define who we are. Thank you.
I do think it's so important.
So I think what we need to do is continue to encourage our community.
We can do that.
Come on and give them all a hand for great job.
Work together and not allow other people to define who we are. Thank you.
I do think it's so important.
So I think what we need to do is continue to encourage our community.
We can do that.
Come on and give them all a hand for great job.
Work together and not allow other people to define who we are. Thank you.
I do think it's so important.
So I think what we need to do is continue to encourage our community.
We can do that.
Work together and not allow other people to define who we are.
Everybody thinks that I'm the board makes up the test. I think it's the board, right? I just don't know a lot about it. Everybody thinks that I'm the board makes up the test. Department of Public Instruction. They're the one that all the rest of it. I will say some of the testing electronic was everybody's something that you're going to have to deal with in college and also with the Department of Public Instruction. But now they are your classrooms. All have forever paper tests. I will say some of the testing electronic everybody's something that you're going to have to deal with in college and also with the Department of Public Instruction. But now they are your classrooms. Right. Well, you know, with everything that's the way the Department of Public Instruction wants to say when we talked to the state separate superintendent Mark Johnson the other day, he said we are going to reduce the testing. That was the last time I heard that. You know, I don't know why, but I constantly talk to the Department of Public Instruction about all the tests they separate doing. And Mark Johnson, we're on your side 100. We are going to reduce the testing. I don't know why.
They can get the data back, get it back to your teachers so that they can start helping you learn what you need to learn quick. Kind of like when Adam, when we go vote, we put them in and get research meetings. So when you put learn, what reading your answer immediately. A lot of it goes straight wrong. Kind of like when Adam, when we go vote, we put them in and get research meetings. So when you put learn, what reading your answer immediately. That's the Department of Public Education instruction. Well, our state superintendent is Mark Johnson. He works directly. That's the Department of Public Education instruction. Well, he comes and visits us quite often, so. Well,
I'll call him tomorrow. We'll be up there tomorrow for session. We have to go in tomorrow, all of us at the state level, to help find money for the people needed out from the hurricane. So we'll be in session tomorrow.
He comes and visits us quite often, so. Well,
I'll call him tomorrow. We'll be up there tomorrow.
and if it makes you feel better, we feel like y'all are tested to death too.
Find money for the people needed out from the hurricane. So we'll be in session tomorrow.
Visit us quite often, so.
I'll call him tomorrow. We'll be up there tomorrow.
And if it makes you feel better, we feel like y'all are tested to death too. Visit us
at this time, we're going to have Adam come, and he's going to go ahead and share, and then we're going to go ahead and wrap it up. Thank everyone once again, those that are able to stay. Once again, I got to go make sure that y'all stay until 9:35 now. At this time, we're going to go ahead and answer any questions and get points and contact. Y'all did a great job of expressing your views and your points. And of course, we're not always going to agree, but my prayer is that you go to your various places and see what you need to do for Gaston County. Y'all did a great job. We can agree to disagree without, of course, we're not always going to agree. We want to try to act like we live here at the end of the day, and we want to work together to do what needs to be done. And I've noticed sometimes when people disagree with things that are going on, I've noticed that sometimes what ends up happening is you go back and both parties think about it, and you think about all of these issues that we have to deal with. So thank you so much. I've noticed sometimes we come back and we'll help close in prayer. I've noticed that sometimes what ends up happening.
Thank you guys, I appreciate it. Thank you for letting me hear the conference. Great event. I mean, good candidates, great event. My name is Adam Reagan. I'm with the Director of Elections for the Gaston County Board of Elections. We're a nonpartisan office. A lot of people don't realize that. I appreciate it. Thank you for letting me hear. Nothing at all. I just give you dates and print ballots and council lists, which will be important. Let me give you 4 dates, 4 important dates that we have coming up. October 12th, a week from this coming Friday, is the last day to register to vote. Or to make any party affiliation changes to ballots. Very important. You can, at early voting, you can register to vote. If you have making a party affiliation changes, anything like that, you have to do it before next Friday, October 12th. October 17th, Wednesday, beginning at 7 a.m. Early voting. This year we have 3 sites. They're going to be open. The Board of Elections office on West Franklin, Mount Holly at the Citizen Center where the police department is, and also the Citizens Resource Center in Dallas. Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m., and then Saturdays, 8 a.m. to 3 p.m., and then one Sunday, Mount Holly from 1 to 5 p.m. That's going to be your early voting. Early voting ends on November 3rd, Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. That's last Saturday, November 3rd, and then Election Day, November 6th. Please come out and vote. 1 to 5. We like a good turnout. I love a good turnout. It's very important. Want to make your voice heard. Also, right now we have mail-out absentee ballots going. I've got a forms back in the back. State absentee ballot request. If you can't make it to early voting, if you can't make it on election day, fill this form out, send it to my office. We will mail you a ballot. Right now we have mail you a ballot. You can vote at your home. Just simply mail it back to us, and we will. That vote will count. Check our website, www.gastoncounty.elections.com, and also our Facebook page. We update that quite often with good information. One thing I will mention, I think several people mentioned the constitutional amendments. We have on our website, I've done a couple times back, the official explanation of the constitutional amendment. We update that quite often. It's a 6-page document. This is what the North Carolina Constitutional Amendments publication on our website. That's what they put. This is the official explanation of the Constitution. So this is actually what you will be voting on. So very important to take a look at that. We have that on our website. But if anybody needs to register to vote, make any changes, I'm in the back. I'll be happy to explanation of the Constitution. So this is actually what you will be voting on. Very important to take a look at that. We have that on our website.
Thank everybody once again for coming out and taking the time to be a part of this. If there's anything that we can do for you as Progressive Coalition, the chief didn't hear, Reverend Greg Floyd, please make sure that everybody wants to him prior to. We're going to ask the Lord to close us out in prayer. If there's anything that we can do, once again, thank each one of the candidates for coming. We look forward to after the election, Lord, having something else that we may go ahead and touch bases on some of the serious issues that we have here in Gaston County. You've heard of education, you've heard of medical, things that we need to deal with there. There's just a whole slew of things that we need to deal with, especially as it pertains to redistricting the county, where we're going to live and how it's going to count. So there's a lot of issues as time goes on that we need to deal with.
tonight. And I just want to put a quick plug in for the deferred prosecution that District Attorney spoke of. Progressive Coalition is part of that, a partnership that we are excited about having young men here. And I just want to put a quick plug in for him. So again, thank you, Mr. DA, for announcing that program. It's Progressive Coalition for Gadsden County. Would you celebrate the pastor of this church for me tonight and tell him thank you for And then would you give yourselves a hand for coming out and stand through the duration? We thank you. Celebrate. We certainly thank you. Let us pray. Thank you for most gracious God, our kind Heavenly Father. You said that your people perish. And then would you give yourselves a hand for coming out and stand through the duration? We thank you. Celebrate. We certain candidates and those seeking. Let us pray. For God, most gracious God, our kind Heavenly Father, that they be for everybody. Said that your people let them and then would you give yourselves a hand for coming so we come in the other duration. So God, as they take their places in those offices, let us pray. God, they have a high power now. Most gracious God, we ask you, God, that they